Grace and peace, everybody. We are back. I know that I just was here literally 10 minutes ago, but guess what? I'm back and I've come bearing gifts. I come bearing gifts. So last night we had a show. We were talking about how Erica Kirk and Turning Point USA are issued a cease and desist notice against Project Constitution. We talked about that. We kind of unpacked it and looked at it. We also looked at his reply back to it. And it was good, as good as it could be when you're dealing with a pre-K law student, right? Because I know nothing. Well, I said, man, it would be really good if we had somebody who specialized in defamation come on and talk about it because they know what they're talking about. And it just look official, you know what I'm saying? Like they got the ties and stuff and hair is looking nice. And like, man, if we had an official looking person, that would really help settle this case and help people know. Well, guess what? I sent an email out and we have a friend on the channel. Just stop on by, ladies and gentlemen. Let me go ahead and bring him in. We got Nick Brooks in the building. Wait, hold on. There we go. We got Nick Brooks in the house. How are you, sir?
How's it going, Jay Witt? It's good to see you again. Your legal correspondent. I'm full disclosure, cannot say I'm specializing, but focused area in defamation for sure.
I got you. I got you. Well, let me just say like this. You know far more than me, so you're a special kind of guy. And you look too swanky. You look too swanky, man. You look like you done got somebody out on bail or something.
Yeah, no, hey, I wish that would be a good result to say the least. No, hey, but your hat looks good. It looks very official to say the least as well.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Well, I sent you this morning. Thank you again, Nick. I really do appreciate you taking the time to hop on. I sent you this morning the cease and desist and kind of ask you what were your thoughts about it. And by the way, if you have not seen it, here is the cease and desist notice that Erica Kirk and Turning Point have sent to Project Constitution, as well as I believe Ian Carroll. I was told Candace Owens also got one, but here we know for a fact that Colin Campbell, who is Project Constitution, this is the one that he was filed with. And I just I read over it. I felt like I understood it, but having you on here is just the chef's kiss. So real quick, do you want to tell us a little bit about what you read and what your thoughts were on it?
Yeah, exactly. So thanks for sending me the letter. I actually logged on to the, X, and I found the particular X post, I guess you would call it. And, I saw it. And really what this letter is, it's to an individual named Campbell. That's his last name. It says Mr. Campbell at the top. You operate an account named Project Constitution. And then it goes on to state that, using this account, you're basically alleging that Erica Kirk and TPUSA are involved in criminal conduct. Now, the different allegations of criminal conduct here appear to be that, they're suggesting that Erica Kirk and TPUSA members were involved in the death of Charlie Kirk, pretty closely in such a way that, they should be prosecuted for it. So,
wow.
What Campbell is doing is he's alleging that they have committed a crime, and that crime is of moral turpitude as well, because it's alleging a person's a murderer, and nobody wants to be alleged that. That's an awful reputational harm to have. One of the interesting things when we're dealing with defamation in a case like this is, since this does allege criminal conduct and, serious criminal conduct at that, it's going to fall under a special type of defamation, which is defamation per se. Now, with defamation per se, that just means it's a special type of statement, and here the special type is criminal conduct, where damages are presumed. So the only thing that the plaintiff would have to do in a case like this is show that the statement, was really said, published, and things of that nature. But with damages, Erica Kirk does not have to bring in a bunch of evidence that here's the way the statement hurt me, here's the financial loss I have. None of that's required, because when we're dealing with defamation per se, damages are presumed based on the nature of the statement. And so, the nature of the statement here is very serious.
So let me jump in. Let me just give an example to make sure I understand correctly. So if I said that Nick is a terrible driver, he blows red lights, he blazes through walkways, and I really believe that he hit a chipmunk last Tuesday, and that is a terrible thing that I've said about you, that would be the defamation. Am I correct?
That's actually kind of interesting. So I wouldn't say that necessarily rises to it. And here's maybe the arguments I would give why.
I didn't make it worse. I didn't make you a worser guy.
Yeah, like I'm just running red lights, it seems like.
No, Nick is living Grand Theft Auto in real life. There we go. Like he's robbing people. He's running over little old ladies. He's doing shootouts. He's getting chased by the cops.
So
there we go.
Yeah, the important legal element here is serious criminal offense. It's not just,
an
unserious one. If I'm just running red lights and, running stop signs, I don't know if that qualifies as serious, like it's reckless. But, if you're saying that I'm, robbing people, killing people, things of that nature, now that's crossing a line into a serious criminal accusation, and you're attributing it to me, and there's no question about who you're attributing this conduct to. That's when, defamation per se is going to kick in. And again, that per se, those are the key words that indicate reputational damages are presumed based on the nature of the statement.
Because your reputation is damaged by me saying and publishing that Nick Brooks is living Grand Theft Auto. He's out here doing that. So that ruins your reputation by the fact that I said it. And I say, like, he's having shootouts, he's running over little old ladies, he's robbing people, stealing cars, all that kind of stuff like that. Those bad things are so egregious that it's assumed that it ruins your reputation.
Oh yeah, and the
right?
way if I were trying to object on any ground, the only thing I would say is if you made a public statement that said Nick Brooks lives his life on Grand Theft Auto mode, that's not enough. That's vague. Right. I don't know what that means. I mean, I could just be running red lights if you've ever played the video game. There's all the, but yeah, like if you were saying that on X date, as I was driving this vehicle, I ran into this lady, and there was evidence that, this lady actually was killed, and maybe nobody found who did it or something. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now that's getting into a little bit more concrete conduct. We have dates, names, specific victims, for example. And so that's where, defamation per se is going to get more triggered, not just, general allegations of like a criminal nature. He's something.
No, I like it. And even in the letter, there's some very specific dates. They say, like, on March 5th, you posted this. On March 13th, you posted this. Exactly. So, okay, that makes perfect sense. Okay, so now they file this against them. And what happens next? Or what should happen in a perfect world?
Okay, yeah. So one of the things that I kind of also read as I was reading it is if you look at the recipient's address, it's in Maryland. And so obviously Maryland law would apply. I would imagine that they would file this in Maryland because, I guess this is where Campbell is posting, this Project Constitution post from. But, really, in a perfect world, what should happen is this. Mr. Campbell needs to recognize. I don't think Mr. Campbell understands the law. I don't represent Mr. Campbell. Don't take any legal advice, full disclosure to get that out of the way. But, ultimately, probably, what I think's going on is Mr. Campbell just doesn't know the law. He sees people talking about criminal conduct, finds that it gets him a ton of views when he posts about it. And so really that's what's going on, is to get traffic towards his own page. He's going to allege salacious criminal activity of a very famous public figure, Erica Kirk. And, where Erica Kirk just, she's got money, just pay a lawyer and get a cease and desist letter sent out to this individual to say, hey, here's what you're doing that violates the law, and you need to stop. And I think that's actually a very reasonable approach. Erica Kirk's not sued him. She has the right to sue him right now. It's already, hey, it's done. Clap your hands. It's over. Like, she has a right, but she's not doing it. So, we maybe need to give Erica Kirk a little bit of grace in that sense, where she does have presumably a lawsuit, I would suppose at this point right
Okay.
now. She's given a cease and desist to say, hey, stop, or I'm going to continue. I'm going to do something about this. So we'll see if the other guy heeds the warning and actually does stop. If he doesn't stop, Erica Kirk might actually go on to file this particular lawsuit. We don't know. And then the only other thing that I would point out as well is, this Project Constitution, these people are oxymoronic. I mean, they talk about having constitutional values related to the First Amendment. And as we've discussed in a previous episode between us, hey, I'm a lawyer. I love the First Amendment. I've taken First Amendment law. I want the people that even disagree with me politically to say whatever they want about me. But you can't use the First Amendment as this wrongful defense to insult a woman as a criminal conduct. Like, the First Amendment has limits, and one of those limits is defamation and defamation per se. And this is well established by courts. So, and guess what? These courts interpret the Constitution. So Campbell and Project Constitution and Candace Owens or whoever else has these views and they don't like this cease and desist, they don't like these letters, they need to go take that up in court or go run for their legislatures and go win an election, because they can't just post and then cry about it and claim victimhood.
Right. No, I got you. So there was a big question. If you look on the X, everybody is saying, good, we want you to sue him because we get discovery. And I know they're not talking about the Starship Discovery from this Star Trek. They're talking about Discovery. But as far as I know from you, the last time we talked, when we were talking about the Macron case, which, by the way, is still in limbo, by the way.
Yeah.
What I learned from you is you don't just get carte blanche discovery. I don't just get to say, hey, I want to know all this stuff about Nick. I want to know his third grade spelling test. We want to look in his tidy whitey's drawer. We want to see in his glove box. We want to know. You don't get to do discovery. Is not just this broad open field. If I understood you correctly. Am I right?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I don't want you going through my tidy whitey underwear drawer.
We're gonna let you have you can keep your secret is safe with us because it will never know.
Yeah, but hey, exactly. But no, discovery is very broad. You can do a lot in discovery with getting evidence. Now, here's the issue. Campbell's, he's talking up a storm like, oh, I can't wait. And other people, I can't wait to go to discovery. We're going to find, they think they're going to find evidence of her, involved in a crime. Good luck. It's so ridiculous. I mean, find a lawyer that's going to back you up on that. And I'd like to see where he got his license from. But yeah, I don't see that really kind of flying. And then two, just consider this. Erica Kirk has millions of dollars. She is a rich woman. She can afford legal bills. She can afford discovery. She will put up every bit of a fight to drag her feet as much as possible, whatever Campbell or who anyone else puts her through in discovery, motions for protective orders, objecting to discovery and just not providing answers and then forcing Campbell to file his own motions. And guess what? Campbell probably doesn't have the money to be doing this. He talks a big game, but the legal fees are going to come and he's not going to be able to write that check. And he can talk it up, mouth off all he wants. But when the legal fees come in discovery, he's going to learn a quick lesson. And what's he going to do? Get on his little social media page, cry about victimhood and how there's no First Amendment, probably blame Israel for something for good Lord knows reason. And it's ridiculous with some of these people. They talk about Constitution, like go win in the courts, go win in the courts, which are authorized by our Constitution. Like it's just this circular logic of victimhood game. You can't get these people out of.
No, I agree. And I find it interesting because that's all they keep talking about. So, and somebody just said like discovery is both ways, right? If I were suing you, I would have an opportunity to ask for discovery, and you would conversely have an opportunity to ask for discovery of certain things that were within the scope. Is that correct?
Exactly.
But again, it's not just an open field of opportunity. It's like a smorgasbord.
Yes.
It's not golden corral of Nick's life. No, but it is
If I may, just to
Yeah,
clarify,
please.
typically, now I'm not sure of how Maryland words it. It's probably very similar to California, but the scope of discovery means that you're entitled to all information that, could uncover additional discoverable information. But generally, it has to be sufficiently related to the claims and defenses. And so here, if we're dealing with reputational harm, if Campbell tries to draw, I mean, you can get creative, right? Think of your
Oh
own
yeah.
discovery request. Say, hey, give me all the communications that you had from your teenage years on your cell phone. A, those communications are probably gone. B, how does this even relate to the claims at issue or the defenses? So there is a scope of discovery where, even though it's extremely broad and judges are incredibly liberal in granting different discovery motions, so
Yeah.
that should be accounted for. But yeah, to think that you're just going to get anything under the sun based on the broad scope of discovery, I don't see that happening. Now, I would want to, like I said, we'd have to evaluate the scope of discovery in Maryland, but I don't believe it's going to provide background into these unbelievable things that maybe he thinks it does. And even if he tries asking these questions, like again, Erica can just move for a motion for protective order, and really what that does is it just says to the judge, hey, I don't want any discovery about this.
Mm.
And if he does it, well, we're going to be, have a right to bring sanctions. And then, can he even pay the sanctions? Probably not, because a lot of people that don't have money to pay these types of fees and stuff are going to run their mouth because they're judgment proof. You can't get any money from them anyway, even if you sue them. And so that's
So
kind of the thing too. Like, does this guy have money? Probably not.
and that's a great question. So I have another question about this. So if I am being here, they're accusing Erica Kurt of being involved in the deletion, the murder of her husband. I don't
Yeah.
would the carte blanche being able to see your bank account? I mean, again, it is in Maryland, so of course there's some
No,
complexities
she
there.
would
But
that would be unbelievable. Like if Campbell tried to ask for bank records, I would tell him to go jump in a lake. Like it would be ridiculous to think he can get that. I would file a protective order for privacy, your financial information. I think you would win something of that nature. Now, again, I'm not a Maryland lawyer, so this is all
right,
going to
right.
be governed by Maryland discovery law, quite frankly. But yeah, no, I mean, that's the thing is like, I can't, like, for example, could I just sue President Donald Trump in court and then suddenly demand his tax returns and financial records? No, it's not. I can't do that, And so he's going to be subject to those same laws with Erica Kirk. And so again, what I think this is he tries to say, yeah, we're going to get financial records, text messages. All this is to traffic views to his page. Because a lot of his viewers don't know what the law really is, and none of this has actually happened to disprove some of like his approaches and points.
Yeah, there's some really great comments from the chat. So shout out to the best live chat on the internet. Can they just, and because again, if he doesn't have anything to lose, aka money, can they ban him from social? Can they make him close down his social accounts? Could that be an option?
Yeah. So with respect to social media usage, social media companies are private companies. They have their own terms of service and use. And if you violate those terms of service and use, they can kick you off that platform because you would typically agree to it at the time. You create your account and you click the little button. Nobody reads it.
Nobody reads that.
Exactly. Hey, but
Wait,
that's what.
You hold me accountable to what I didn't read, Nick. Come on, don't do that.
Yeah, hey, that's the way they make you scroll now too. Sometimes.
Oh yeah.
To like that. Oh my gosh, I don't know why my camera keeps messing up like this.
You have a center stage on it. It keeps you in the center of the stage. So when you do the little hand movements, it gesture. It's okay. I've been.
But what was your question again? Sorry, I lost my train of thought on that.
Could they force you to close down your social media? So like I've accused you of something and I was wrong. I defamed you. But I don't have two pennies to rub together. So could they say, well, Jason is broke. Let's just make him shut down his social media. And you basically said we're violating the terms of service when we sign up. But
yeah.
One by
well,
one
the
basis,
court can't
right?
do that. The court can't.
Right.
I mean, I can't think of a legal route to try to get an order to tell the private social media company to shut down a particular account. I've not heard of anything of that nature. I mean, I guess in certain worlds, like they can maybe say no social media usage, but that would typically be tied to the defendant like order. You would order the defendant, don't get on social media or something. That's the only thing I can come up with.
I can imagine.
And then quickly, I saw somebody mention in the comments something about in divorce cases about
I had that one ready
spousal
next.
finance. Yeah, that was a great question. Really good question by Drummer 3354. Look, that's family court. That governs a little bit differently than general civil litigation. So when we're dealing with something like defamation, that's a general civil litigation case. And then family law typically has their own rules and statutes that govern those procedures. So this is just a little bit different of a world. And so that's how I would distinguish this from a divorce and all that financial information, because a lot of that financial information, like I'm not a divorce attorney or family law attorney, but I think it's very relevant to a lot of resolving those cases. So they need that, but you don't need access to the bank records of your civil party opponent all the time in like a general civil litigation defamation case. What did Donald Trump, President Trump tweets about or puts an X post or Truth Social about me, Nick Brooks, and then, I sue him. Like, I can't just, in the part of discovery, I want bank records, I want tax return. And you know what he would do too?
I want square footage of Mar-a-Lago.
He would object. He'd say executive privilege. And then I'd be like, damn, that's a good objection.
What
am I going to do about that one? I'd love it. I'd hang it up on the wall.
I love it. Okay. So by the way, if you're just hopping in, I have Nick Brooks, Esquire, fantastic legal mind. He's just giving us a high view and understanding and breakdown of the cease and desist letter that Project Constipation received on yesterday, and it was been posted on X, and we've just been kind of breaking it down and getting some 2 cent in, if you will, about the topic. Anything else on that first or second page, Nick, that really stood out to you, or that you wanted to call out? Because I did want to talk about. I gotta make it smaller. I do want to talk about how they listed some of the crimes that he's done, or the specific false claims.
Yes.
And that looks okay.
So no, there's nothing much other than I think the attorney here did a good job, basically, concretizing. I'm not sure if that's a verb or not, but making concrete, the different factual allegations. So basically, what they've done here, as you can see on your screen, in a February 11th, 2026 reply to Laura Loomer asking how anyone could defend Candace Owens' suggestion that blah, blah, blah. I mean, really what the attorney's doing here is just dates, names, statements. You really want to hammer that down, and you don't want to leave anything to, that's not a true statement of fact. So just good drafting by the attorney here, did their job sufficiently. And it should put Campbell on notice of, the different statements he's made. I guess one point I'd like to bring up is, I saw at the beginning of the letter, I think it was at the beginning, the attorneys for Erica mentioned about issuing an apology for, right there at the first paragraph, issue a full apology and cease and desist for making these or similar false and damaging statements in the future. And, you can, if as a part of that, why not, put in the full apology? I don't think it's enforceable. You can't, so it's just something of, Erica Kirk might not bring a lawsuit if he complies with these demands. And so that's just an informal negotiating settlement tactic, I guess one could take on.
And you know what? I realize I can't find his response to it, but I want to talk about something that they brought up here, and it's called, what is the term? It is called, darn it. Long story short, it is the term where basically don't remove any statements as well. Refusal. Okay. But it was called something. So it's right here. They're asking him not to remove anything. Right. But in his response back to them, he's like, well, I can't take down the statements that you told me are bad, because if I do, I'm going to violate this statute right here of taking down comments that are bad. Does that make sense? Or
I mean, that's
like, don't destroy. What was it called? I forgot what it's called.
It's a preservation of evidence, typically, is how you notify.
Spoilation. Yes. That's what it's called.
Exactly.
So it's almost like, Nick, I need you to take out the rotten food out of the refrigerator because it stinks. But if you take out the rotten food out of the refrigerator, you've ruined the evidence that you didn't clean the refrigerator. So therefore, you violated the spoilage. So it was almost like a catch-22 he was trying to present. So what do you do in that situation? Does he leave the content up? Does he take the content down? What
That's
is
a great point. I think to identify that catch-22 is actually pretty savvy on the part on the other side's part. Because
uh-huh.
yeah, if you're telling them, hey, we want you to take this down, I presume that means to delete it. But then also you have an obligation not to destroy evidence that could be used in a civil lawsuit, especially
Mm-hmm.
after you've been placed on notice. And or evidentiarily, it could be used against you later, if it comes up. I guess there's a couple approaches, Campbell could take rather than just, oh, you're telling me something, you're giving me a catch-22, blah, blah, blah. I mean, look, at the end of the day, he's got a ton of options on the table. He can write a letter getting clarification on how to move forward. He could literally just, hey, you've asked me this, you put me in a catch-22, I don't know how to move forward. Could you clarify? And guess what? If they respond a certain way, that's going to be great. And then also what I would suggest is this: screenshot, and then maybe, if you're going to remove it. But again, that's something you should probably check with the opposing counsel too,
mm-hmm.
To ensure that they're not trying to make you, incentivize you to delete evidence, I guess, and then try to use that against you later. I mean, some lawyers, they can be a little bit savvy like that. But yeah, I mean, it's a good point, sure. But just reach out to the attorneys and get clarification on how to move forward.
No, I agree. And I'm looking to see if I can find the letter. I don't know what he wrote a letter back, and I have no idea why I don't see it. But
do you recall like the general nature of it?
Yeah, that was basically it. Like, go kick rocks. He was basically like, I'm going to keep going and looking forward. He was basically like looking forward for you suing me. Oh, here it is right here. Got it.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately though, like, let's say he doesn't have like, any money, you know what I mean? Like, what's Erica, what's like, you know what I mean? How can Erica Kirk make him? I mean, she can threaten him with a lawsuit, bring him to court and all this stuff, but like, you're not going to go to jail for defamation. Last I checked, that's not occurred anywhere in the US. You can be held civilly liable for defamation and related stuff. But I don't know. I think it's it's kind of a weird approach.
Okay, so here it is. Preservation obligation of spoliation. Is it spoliation or spoliation?
Spoliation.
All right. Your letter explicitly the screenshot is horrible. So I'm trying to get your letter specifically cited in your letter. Let's see. Demands that I preserve all evidence. It's just going crazy. Sorry about that. All evidence, including all electronic communications and social media posts, to prevent the spoliation of evidence. Therefore, I am legally and ethically unable to comply with your demand to delete the post in question. To do so would be a violation of the very preservation instruction your firm has issued, potentially exposing me to sanctions for the destruction of evidence that you have deemed relevant to a potential dispute.
Can you zoom in on that letter one more time?
Whew. Every time I zoom in, it just goes bonkers. Okay, let me try again. Okay. But it won't allow me to scan. It won't allow me to scroll over.
I wonder how he drafted this. Like, if he used a certain program.
ChatGPT.
I mean, hey, don't get me wrong. Sometimes it can make you some good arguments and stuff. And that's what I'm saying. He did a good job identifying that catch-22, and now he seeks clarification. But catch the tone. The tone is not completely, oh, I'm willing to comply. Here's what he's doing. The tone is, F you, basically. I'm not going to comply with anything you say. Kick rocks, like you said. and then, to try to plead victimhood, like, oh, you want me to do things I can't. This is like dealing with a teenager that you give them an instruction and then they want to somehow come up with a reason they can't follow it. Oh, you want me to do this.
Stop talking about my children, Nick. Stop talking about my kids, man. Why are you talking about my kids like that?
Some people never grow up. They got the Peter Pan syndrome. And I don't know if this individual does, but it's pretty sad when it's, like a content creator, all they can do for views is accuse other people of crimes. It's like, and then name themselves Project Constitution. Can you believe it?
I totally can. So I think that, and I'm going to talk about discovery and further. I'm going to read the last part as well. I did send it to you in the private chat so you can have it, so you can like zoom in a little bit more on it because it's just, I don't know why. It's just super wonky on this one. He says this: while I do not seek unnecessary litigation, I am prepared to defend my work in court should Ms. Kirk and TPUSA choose to proceed. I would welcome the opportunity to discovery process, which would allow for this is what I'm
Oh
talking
God.
about.
He sent this?
Yeah, the transparent and thorough examination of every question my reporting has sought to answer. Questions that to date, Mrs. Kerr and TPUSA have declined to address publicly. Real quick, Nick, because I would love for you to address this part. Is every question a good question?
I mean, no, not every question's a good question. But he's
Right.
like, well, go ahead.
So then, therefore, if I say Nick is being paid by the anti-bald head black guy association to attack me, therefore I should be able to see Nick's finances. Like, that's almost what he's saying. That's how I'm interpreting, because some of the questions that they've asked are insane. They're crazy. So there's no way that you can answer that. Like, and again, maybe you should just say, look, that's not relevant to the scope of this, whatever. But I think, reading the comments last night in my own chat as well as others, it does seem like people think like, oh, if I sue Nick, I get discovery. I'm sorry, Nick sues me, I get discovery for everything. I can know about the lint in his pockets and the change under his seat in his car, everything. I'm gonna know everything. You don't.
No. And then too, there's practicalities. It's like a lot of people, like you said, they have this idea that they can just get everything. They can't. There's limits to discovery, as you identified with the scope. And then also too, let's get very practical. So we just discussed some of the legal boundaries you have. Practically, doing discovery costs money. It costs thousands of dollars typically.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you want to do depositions, because I suppose, in discovery, he's going to want to depose Erica Kirk at some point, right? If he's the defendant, in a case, guess what? Does he have the money to pay an attorney to sit down for 7 hours to depose Erica Kirk? I doubt it. I mean, I really question if this guy has the funds to fund this defense that he acts like he is. He's gonna get a set of discovery questions if he continues this, and he's gonna say, "Wow, I don't know what's going on or how to do any of this." Then he's gonna call an attorney, and the attorney is gonna quote him $5, $10, $15, $20,000, maybe more. And then if he doesn't have that in the bank to pay or to finance somehow, good luck, man. All you've done is walk yourself into a civil litigation headache. And if you don't respond to the discovery, well, all that stuff can be used against you. And then Erica Kirk can maybe move for judgment on the negative, or failed to file answers to discovery. So it's really reeking of pump my chest. I'm real big and powerful, You're
right.
But there's no money. You don't have money. And that's so much of what law is. Like, you got to have the money to pay this stuff.
Yeah. Oh, there's some great comments. Shout out to the best live chat on the internet. If you're just jumping in, I have Nick Brooks. He's a friend of the channel and a legal mind, as you can tell. He definitely knows what he's talking about. And I sent him Project Constipation's cease and desist letter, as well as his response letter this morning. And he said he would be happy to hop on and answer some of my questions and talk about this. So this is great. I really appreciate it, Nick. Okay, this is a point, and I wanted to bring this up. Thank you so much, Goals to Wellness. I forgot to say this. If he wanted to be in compliance, he could make the videos private.
Yeah. I mean, and
he could make them private,
the videos,
and they're still up. Yeah. So it wouldn't violate that, because if they say where the videos go, you took it down, say, no, I made them private. So that, and then you can make it unlisted and just send them the link so they can see that you did in fact leave them up. So that would be a way to, I don't know if you can do that on X, but I know you can do it on YouTube. So that's one. But this is interesting. So if a lawyer is a content creator, Nick, and the lawyer is involved in this, he or she has been spreading defaming comments about Erica Kirk, and they get sued, could they represent Project Constitution? Do you feel?
No, I think there would be some ethical conflicts that would arise to, like, where, if you're a lawyer, I have to really kind of think about that and break it down. It's a wonderful question. But really it's like the facts of that lawyer's own personal life case would intertwine too much with the representation of that particular individual,
Hmm.
such that, that lawyer could anticipate being called as a witness maybe in, his own client's case, and a lawyer cannot act as a witness for,
Right.
in a case they represent. And so like that's that's generally true. It's all state governed. So Maryland has their own stuff. But yeah, no, I mean, if I'm a lawyer and I'm involved, hell, I've commented on some of this stuff with Candace Owens and her affairs, Erica Kirk. And, like, let's say somebody came to me about representation in this context. I don't think it would be very ethical of me to do, because, I've put out videos and things of this
Right.
nature, and I'm analyzing it. So yeah, you just got to always, as a lawyer, be smart about, whatever representation you take on, that there's going to be no potential conflicts between your own interests and your client's interests, such that, hey, I may have to defend myself and throw my own client under the bus. If you anticipate that whatsoever, you need to decline representation and give
Right.
them notice in writing on why you can't do this, so they have a full understanding as well.
Okay. Yeah, because I guess there's another guy I didn't know, but somebody mentioned it. I know he's been, very strong in the anti-Erica space. And somebody, Jennifer said Baron Coleman will probably do it for him pro bono. And I'm like, well, if he's involved in, if he gets a cease and desist, I don't know if he would
Well,
want to do that because it might
you
cause a
know,
problem. It might.
man, that's a tough question. I don't know. There's probably a good argument against what I just said, because I don't know who Baron Coleman is, but I presume he's an attorney who is so inspired by this anti Erica Kirk stuff that he wants
Hmm.
to maybe represent a couple of what he believes are other content creators that support his message. Oh
Oh,
wow, I'm from
oh,
Tennessee, so
oh
hey,
yeah, you sure are. Yeah.
Tennessee people don't shut their mouth sometimes, so I can see, Coleman probably doing that. But yeah, no, I mean, you know, if Coleman has a good argument, I would be interested to hear it. I'm not going to completely say that I'm right. I'm not God. I don't know everything. But I think it just seems to reek of maybe a potential or actual conflict of interest. So
Got you. And if somebody's not licensed or not practicing anymore, let's say that you, Nick, in 50 years, you're retired from practicing, but you've always been a defamation lawyer and such like that, and you retire, you're no longer practicing. And I don't know if that practicing and licensing are the same, but you're retired. Could you write something for somebody who is in this case, or is that like breaking the law? And they're in your state, the state that you're in, all that kind of stuff. Could you write something, or is that like practicing without a license?
yeah, that would be, I mean, to me, the way you framed it, it would be, practicing without a license. Basically, through the endeavor you described seems to be representing an individual,
Right.
um, in court. That's generally
R-
considered the practice of law.
Okay.
And, if you're not licensed and, you've deactivated your license through retiring or not paying your fees and stuff, well, then you don't have a right to represent people in court. You need a license to
Mm,
do that.
okay. And I brought that up because Ruben said that. He said he doesn't think that the gentleman is licensed. I'm like, well, I don't think you can do those things. Then you're not going to be able to represent Project Constipation or do any writing for him because you yourself are not licensed. And I
Yeah,
think
I
that would
mean,
probably be
if they're just
problematic.
two unlicensed people tossing each other different legal ideas, I mean, it's like if you got a friend in your life, right, who's like, "Hey, I heard of this case, look it up." I don't know if that qualifies as legal representation, or
Right.
they send you some information, or their opinion on something. But if you're trying to, like, "Hey, I'm going to walk in front of the judge and say, 'Your Honor,
Oh
this is
yeah.
my,' like, no, all right, we're going to stop there. That's completely a different field we're talking about. Like, if you're trying to reach out to other attorneys, and say, "Hey, I'm trying to settle this case on behalf of, my friend,"
Oh
that's
yeah, that's
that's
crazy work.
legal service, stuff.
Right. Oh yeah, that would be bad business. Well, this is not bad business. Let's see what Stephanie says. Does taking information from a legal document that clearly states the source and is put out as authentic, but accuses an other person of violating a specific malicious category. Whoo.
Let me read this one
Um,
more time. Does taking
yeah.
info from a legal document that clearly states the source and is put out as authentic, but accuses another not involved in a specific malicious category? All right. Yeah, I guess a couple things. So, first things first, we have a document, and when you're in court, you have to authenticate that document with somebody who has personal knowledge of the document. And so,
Mhm.
here, even though somebody says, hey, this document's authentic, that doesn't mean it's authentic for purposes of the court. You need
Of the court.
somebody with personal knowledge of that document to authenticate it. So, that's just, it's kind of screwing up my analysis as I read the question on that front. But
Mhm.
it, I guess clearly stating the source, like, hey, this document was published by the state of whatever, or the company A, or whatever you want to say,
Mhm.
and accuses another of involved in a specific malicious category.
Can I help you out?
Sure.
Okay. If I'm understanding Stephanie correctly, she's talking about that audio file on the Epstein, in the Epstein trove, if you will, the audio file about the woman that is recruiting young girls to do work for Jeffrey Epstein. It's clear that this was by the, I forgot what, Clearwater, Florida Police Department. That was their recording, so they know that that's where it came from, and it's documented and cited as, Clearwater, Florida's wiretap, and they have the name of the person that is doing the talking. Project Constipation took that file and said that the woman on there was Erica Kirk, and if she was the one doing this, but it's clear that he was lying. That's what got this all stirred up. And I believe, if I'm hearing Stephanie correctly, because he knew that this file was from Clearwater, it wasn't an FBI wiretap or anything of that nature. It was already documented that it was the the Haley Robeson woman, and he clearly framed it in a different way. Is that malicious category? This specific maliciousness.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on with it, but kind of how I would
Yeah,
frame it is like, it seems like he took a recording and said somebody within this recording is Erica Kirk. And
that is correct.
I suppose probably the contents of the statement were bad, and that's fine.
Mhm.
But ultimately, again, you're accusing another of serious criminal misconduct. We just got to go back to step one. It's always, defamation per se, accusing another of serious criminal misconduct. I mean, there's other categories, but serious criminal misconduct here,
Mhm.
that's satisfied. And yeah, that should be able to sufficiently kind of bring a case on that front, because she could say, hey, you are accusing me of specific malicious conduct and saying that this statement in this video is attributable to me, and it's not. I think she would have an argument, and she could clarify on the record too. I mean, come out publicly, say, hey, this isn't me. And I think that would be a sufficient way to kind of counter that as well.
No, I agree with you. And there, the bad thing is that the audio file or the subsequent documents that go along with it, it was already pretty clear that it couldn't have been Erica Kirk because it was recorded in Florida when Erica Kirk was 16 years old. And it just doesn't work. If you just looked at the time frames, it didn't work. So you did this with a lot of bad intent. That's really what brought about. If you go back and look at the video, the picture I sent you earlier, they mentioned that that's what happened on March 12th or March 13th, one of those days. And it's like it's not like you made a mistake. You literally did this on purpose. You literally did this on purpose. And let me pull
Yeah.
it in so everybody. So that's what I believe they're referencing.
Yeah, and
And
I mean,
hopefully,
really, the reason, like, he probably uses, or allegedly uses a fake audio recording and attributes it to Erica Kirk is, hey, if you have a recording that's allegedly of Erica Kirk stating a crime, ooh, that's going to get me views. People are going to
mhm,
traffic. Some people spread it and believe it, and I mean, that's ultimately like maybe the thought process behind making like a false statement, if, in this situation. But ultimately, like, there's some tools in Erica Kirk's pocket where she can correct some of that, or
yeah.
correct the misstatements.
I got you. And so this is just it. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I did leave a link to this in the chat, and I'll make sure it's in the description of this video as well, so you can go back and watch all those. Um, off topic, off topic. Did you pay attention to the TikTok psychic at all case?
No, but is this I saw some comments about, is this the thing for
Yeah,
10 million?
yeah, yes.
Oh, yeah, I think so. I remember following this Idaho case where those four college students, were
Mm-hmm.
killed by Koberger, and
Yep.
I think, yeah, somebody was alleging that a professor might have been involved or something. Now, again,
And it
oh,
was
go
the
ahead.
craziest story. She was getting her information from tarot cards, thoughts and vibes and dreams and astral projections. It was super, super crazy. But the woman refuses to buckle down, even though when the guy had already confessed that he did it, she was still saying that he was
Yeah,
innocent, and
yeah,
that
but
it
here
was
the
a
thing.
crazy.
Yeah, the thing
Go ahead.
is like even where we have, like this woman who was sued, I mean, and there's a $10 million judgment against her. I don't know. I'd have to see if that judgment is dischargeable in bankruptcy. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. I'd have to kind of do some legal research into that. But let's presume that it is dischargeable. Okay, well, hey,
Mm,
you got a $10 million judgment against you. File for bankruptcy, clear that $10 million judgment, move on with your life. And guess what?
got it.
All you've ever got, I mean, the plaintiff, what are they going to get out of it? That's kind of a negotiating tactic you use for defendants as well. Sometimes you say to the plaintiff, hey, you want to file this case? You want to, spend all this money? Guess what? There is no pot of gold waiting at the end of this. We will file for bankruptcy. You won't get anything except a legal bill that somebody's got to pay, whether it's the law firm or the client. And that's a really strong, sometimes negotiating tactic that, you can use. So I think there with the professor suing this woman, unless this woman has millions of dollars through some tarot card business or however that works, like I just don't see, a huge value being made in that. But if that judgment is non-dischargeable, well, then, he can collect on that. Presumably, I guess, I don't know how she's ever going to satisfy $10 million
Right.
through her earnings in her life. But, I guess he could go after her for that, depending on the dischargeability, like we discussed.
Okay. So let's go back to the Erica Kirk shenanigans. And if we had put them in an order of importance, at the top, I'd probably say would probably be Candace Owens. And there's some sycophants under her, there's some simps under them. And then there's just like the big base of people that buy into Candace conspiracies and the foolishness that she puts out. It would suing somebody, even though you're not going to get any money for it, would that have a chilling effect on some of those people downstream? Like, oh wait, they sued this guy. Ooh, and they spent a lot of time in. Ooh, I don't have that money. I don't have time to do that. I don't want to do that. And maybe let me go ahead and start deleting.
Yes.
With that, so it could be a again like a sign to somebody
Yes.
like, hey, I don't want to be involved in this. And so I think it's not only just the principle, but I think it does have a chilling effect to kind of stop some of this foolishness that's been going on.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're exactly right. I think like chilling effect, that's a great term to use, and that's generally the
I,
terms that like
I learned
lawyers
that.
will
I
use
learned
as
that.
well. It's a very term of art. So yeah, that's good you use that.
Law
The only
student,
thing
baby.
Yeah, the only thing that I would clarify is this. I generally, like, I guess if I've used chilling effect, I always implied it as like, the speech at issue is legal and the government seeks to regulate that speech somehow. That's not always been historically the way it should be regulated. And so then people will say, if you allow this speech regulation to occur that way, it's going to have a chilling effect. Here, the circumstances are slightly different, where
Right.
we're not really protecting already legal type speech. What the speech at issue here is alleged criminal accusations, specific serious ones directed at a certain individual. So where people are like, oh, this is going to have a chilling effect on me. I'd say, yeah, it should. You can't go out here and spread lies and serious criminal misconduct. I'm glad you're chilled. Go be chill. And so that's kind of how
Go
I
be
tell them.
chill is crazy.
Yeah,
I love it.
it's definitely a chilling effect, but I mean, you got to have a chilling effect for something.
Right. No, I think that's a great point. So, all right, I have no idea where this is going to go. Again, I showed you that Project Constipation wrote back that basically he's not going to chill. He's going to keep wilding out. Um, what do you what what do you think would happen now that they sent this yesterday? He fired back an immediate response that he's not going to chill and tamper it down. A lawsuit next?
Yeah, I mean, think about it. If you're Erica Kirk and you have millions of dollars, you can
Mhm.
get a complaint filed for 5,000 probably dollars. Like, and then as soon as you file a complaint for 5, I mean, she's got good attorneys, so they probably have high hourly rates. Let's just do 10,000 just as a number for a complaint. All right, Erica Kirk pays 10,000. Well, if you have millions of dollars, $10,000 is not a lot of money. And so she pays that. Case moves in the pleading stage. The party opponent would be expected to respond. And to respond, obviously, at that stage, that party opponent could hire an attorney or try to put together some type of motion to dismiss or maybe an answer. There's, different options that the party opponent could do. And if they're going to hire an attorney, well, the attorney is going to say, hey, this is going to be an hourly an hourly arrangement. It's not contingency going to be basis on the defense side of this. It's going to be hourly. And so then you're trying to work out hourly rates where, state of Maryland, it's expensive lawyers there. I wouldn't expect you're going to be probably paying an attorney at least $400, $500 an hour in Maryland. And that's for like average market rate in Maryland. And so guess what? If your attorney spends 2.5 hours, which is, good speed, I suppose, for preparing an answer. I mean, you've already spent $2,000, $2,500 on an answer. Okay, now, all right. And so you don't want to even do the motion to dismiss, because if you do a motion to dismiss, that's going to be a $10,000 bill versus just filing an answer for $2,500. So we got to deal with the math and the money behind this. And that's why when you have litigants that are so financially disparate towards each other, where the plaintiff's rich, defendant's poor, plaintiff's poor, defendant's rich. That's why you see all the big guy, little guy framing in courts a lot, David versus Goliath type framings. Well, guess what? Erica Kirk in this situation is Goliath. And I don't think the other side has a slingshot to defeat this one.
Wow. Okay. No, this is very, very interesting.
And if I may, just to add on to that, hey,
yeah, please.
You're dealing with motion to dismiss, $10,000, maybe $6,000, $6,000 to $10,000, answer $2,000, $2,500. Then you're getting into discovery. You got written discovery. You got special interrogatories, form interrogatories, requests for admissions, requests for production of documents. To produce all that's probably going to take 8 hours. You do 8 hours times 500. I mean, that's $4,000 for written. Like, you just do the math, and this thing's going to creep up to tens of thousands of dollars just on a defense. I don't think he has this money. And I think, he talks a big game now, but like I said, check's going to come due.
I'm waving the white flag, man. I just give up. I quit. I apologize. I'll delete my whole social. You've convinced me, man. I am not going to defame you anymore, Nick. I apologize, Nick.
No, hey, no defaming going on. I appreciate you having me. That's a credit. I'll take that as a compliment.
No, this is fun though. Okay, if you just hopped in or you haven't, if you just hopped in or didn't know, I have Nick Brooks. He's an attorney at law here to explain the Project Constitution, cease and desist, as well as his response, and kind of give us just a lay of the land. So Nick has been very gracious to hop on and to talk about this. I really do appreciate him. He's a friend of the channel. So you all, thank you all for hopping in with us. Nick, anything else, any other cases that are interesting to you? I know you actually have a job and you're actually doing the legal stuff, but are there any other cases that are maybe interesting or have piqued your...
Well, I do got to catch back up with kind of what's going on with the Candace Owens and the Macron case and the Candace Owens and what's that other case going on in Delaware? Or not? Candace or wait, no, we were dealing with Delaware, but there was another case, wasn't there?
No, we got the Macrons are in Delaware. I don't know if we talked about. I don't think
that
we talked
motion
about
to dismiss dates coming
motion
up.
to dismiss, right? That's what, and it's just been dragging on, which makes no sense because they issued it in January and they didn't give an answer until the end of April. Like, what takes so long? That's it. Why does it take so long, Nick, to do things like that? What can
Man, I wish I could give you an answer on that one. I have my own critiques of judges, but then the judges want to critique me that I'm some young buck who doesn't know the lay of the land either. So, I've dealt with it on that front. But no, I mean, ultimately, I think the reason this stuff takes so long is like litigation slow because a lot of judges aren't the most technologically savvy people in the world, believe it or not. And it takes them a long time to write decisions. They don't know how
Mhm.
to use, for example, AI maybe to help them write or consider certain things. But even if I say those words, there's going to be a percentage of viewers of this is Nick Brooks is a terrible attorney using AI. Go ahead, dude. Go ahead. There's literally lawyers getting sanctioned because that's all they're doing now. I think even the White House sometimes puts out stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we're all doing it. Stop the whole, I'm morally correct or I'm smarter than you framing. But I guess that's kind of my opinion on like why that takes so slow. Is you just got a lot of arrogant judges at times who think they should take all this time. Like I want to, I've actually could put me on a pedestal with this one. Like we have immigration courts, that's kind of a hot button issue, but immigration courts, you have like only a handful of judges, and they're Article 1 judges, not Article 3 judges. So Congress
Right.
is really heavily involved in the regulation. And these immigration judges are so overburdened. Like I'm telling you, the immigration judges, they're good people. Like a lot of them think, oh, they're these liberal hacks. No, they're not. There's conservative ones too. We need to stop all that. Like a lot of them are just good people trying to apply the law in a humane way. But these judges are overwhelmed to the point they've got like over 1,000 cases per judge. And I'm like, how do you process this? Like, who's doing this? Like, and not only that, you're dealing with like people in immigration courts. You have like 1-year-olds. How can a 1-year-old be in? So it's just like really messed up. That like, I think technology needs to be more heavily utilized. Or they need to just get more immigration judges to kind of handle certain issues of overburdened judges. But that's kind of a political issue at times too. Some want to reduce them at times, so it's like it's a hot button topic. But yeah,
Okay.
and then
Wow.
also, yeah, and then I wanted to touch on this point as well. Eric, or not the Candace Owens, with respect to her influence on other creators and how that could potentially tie back into her own liability. Here's the only thing you have to remember: Candace Owens can say things, and that doesn't mean that, if Candace Owens says this statement and then all these other creators say kind of a similar statement, but they have their own versions, she inspires it. We're all responsible for our own individual conduct. We cannot hold Candace Owens responsible for the statements of another. That, that just violates like certain principles related to individual responsibility and individual accountability. So I wouldn't actually be in favor of holding Candace Owens responsible for the statements of others, even where she's had influence on those statements, sure. But ultimately, Candace Owens will be held responsible for her own statements, just as we all will. And so I think that's kind of the best approach to analyze it. So with all these creators like Project Constitution, this won't affect the legal liability of Candace Owens. She may be called in as a witness for certain. Maybe she was inspiring to him. I'm not sure. But we're not going to be able to hold Candace Owens for the statement or accountable for the statements of Project Constitution, in that sense.
No, I appreciate it, man. Okay, that was a good point. Thank you so much. Okay, so let me ask you this quick question. Nick, if I just dub myself a lawyer right here in front of you, I christen myself a lawyer and I start giving legal advice, I would quickly get shut down for practicing law without a license, right?
No, I mean, practicing law
or
yeah,
like, let's say I'm trying to do like legal work, not just saying it, but like I'm out here trying to write briefs and all that kind of stuff, collecting money, get me a little PO box, the whole nine like that. And I say that I'm, J. Witt Esquire. I'm practicing law without a license. Is that fair?
In that sense. And if I may just add a clarification point. Okay. So like if you have a lot of content creators who are not licensed attorneys who they're really inspired by, let's say, like how to conduct yourself with the police. That is kind of legal knowledge, right? Like, hey, when you're approached by a police officer, here are your rights. That's imparting legal knowledge onto other people. If you're a non-attorney, you have a complete right to spread, legal knowledge like that. Nobody's going to say, hey, just because you're telling people their Fifth Amendment rights, you're trying to practice law. Like, no, you're just giving the public general legal information, and that's your right. That's protected. It just, like you mentioned, it crosses the line where you're like, hey, I'm going to write your brief and walk into court and tell the judge I'm representing you. That's different.
Right. So I wouldn't be able to use my fake legal lawyer made up contrivance to do anything else besides saying, hey, you have a Fifth Amendment right? But if I went beyond that, I couldn't say, oh, wait, hey, wait, I'm just a lawyer. I'm just an attorney. That would definitely be wrong. Am I correct? It's fair to say that, right?
Can you clarify that again?
if I'm going around impersonating a lawyer because I don't want to get too lost. 'Cause I want you to answer this question because I
You're
want to.
saying I am a lawyer. You're like using
Right.
those
I'm
words.
saying I am a lawyer.
That's fraud
So
too. I mean, you know.
right. So this one right here, because a lot of people have been saying this that they're journalists. And I'm like, well, wait, hold on. Isn't there a standard that one can be a journalist before they just say they're a journalist? Because Project Constipation is saying that he's a journalist. But I'm like, well, is there a standard for it, or can I just say I'm a journalist
Great
out of the
question. And
blue?
I've heard this quite a bit. So I actually came across this not only with like some of this Candace Owens topic. Do you recall that Jacksonville Jaguars post-game presser where that woman told the coach at the end of the playoff game, she was like, "We're proud of you," and stuff like that. Did you happen to see that? You know what I'm talking
No,
about?
what happened?
So
What
basically,
happened?
Liam Cohen's the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and they lost the wild card to, I forget the team they lost to. If somebody knows in the comments, the Bills. They lost to the Bills. And so in the post-game presser, it was a disappointing season. The Jaguars had won 13, 14 games. And there was a lot of expectations. And so as they walk into the post-game presser, Liam Cohen, head coach, taking questions, and this one journalist, somebody that had journalist credentials. They got in there, they were able to ask the guy questions, and you need a journalist credential to do that. And so what this journalist did was a Jacksonville local, and she basically was like, "Oh, we're so proud of you. We're so, thankful. You guys will continue to get better." And a lot of sports journalists started to criticize her after that and said, that is not journalism. You should have been asking him these, questions, I guess, like, why did you call this play on third down? I don't really know what types of questions. I think the label journalist is very vague and ambiguous. It's ever changing. Our media landscape has changed.
Mm-hmm.
No longer is it just the big 3 or 4 or 5 media companies. Now you can jump on YouTube and you got Lady Luck kind of does her own version of journalism as well, in that sense. So I would say maybe you do to an extent.
Okay.
But I'll be honest with you. I know Trey Gowdy. He was a former congressman. He used to have a show on Fox News. I don't know if he has it anymore, but I remember one time he insulted a journalist where he said, and I'm just going to tell you it because he did say this, and it just kind of stuck with me. He was like, if that journalist would have been smarter, he or she would have gone to law school. I was like, damn, that's a mean comment to say, but what he's doing is from his lawyer position, insulting journalists, but then you'll find journalists insulting other people as non-journalists. So it's like this weird hierarchy of like how to, legitimize other people. But ultimately, like, I'm not sure there's a hard label for journalism. I don't think there really exists one in law. I just think it's like, hey, are you trying to be a truth-seeking person and to seek evidence and things of that? Are you a propagandist or are you a journalist? There might be a better difference to distinguish than sometimes just journalist to journalist.
Okay, I can dig it. Okay. Stephanie, thank you so very much for the very kind super sticker. I appreciate you. And then let me finish this up. Ruben says this with the 5. Also, if Candace or any other big account amplifies Project Constipation's tweet, wouldn't that hurt Project Constitution's case?
Well, I guess how would it hurt it?
Well, if I put out a tweet and I'm just a nobody, and I say Nick Brooks is a crook. He's a terrible person, Grand Theft Auto, but Ruben is a huge platform. He has several 100 million subscribers. He retweets that tweet that I put out. Now 100 million people have seen it. Before, only 10 people saw it. Now 10 million people saw it. Doesn't that hurt? Who's in trouble worse for that? Oh, and by the way, you're suing me. You're currently suing me because I said you were Grand Theft Auto.
I guess the clarification point I would have to make is like, I guess the inherent assumption, and when you're saying that, is more views equates to more damages in a way, or more views equates to more reputational harm. And that's understandable. And generally in general negligence, that's completely true. But again, we're dealing with a special category of defamation per se. So reputational damages are presumed. I don't have to prove the magnitude. I don't have to prove the existence. Like, I just got to prove there was reputational damages. and that you said, or excuse me, not, I don't have to prove reputation. I contradicted myself.
Right.
All I've got to do is prove you made the statement to a third party, in that context, and you were damaged.
So let me make sure I clarify. It really doesn't matter if 10 people saw it or 10 million people saw it. The fact that what I said was wrong is the problem.
That's mostly correct. Yes.
Mostly correct. Okay. So in my statement about you being Grand Theft Auto, you're robbing banks and running over people and committing serious crimes. If I said that and 10 people saw it or 10 million people saw it, is still the fact that what I said is what is
you accused me of serious criminal misconduct and published it to a third party or more.
Right. So it doesn't matter, like, again, how big, again, if I wrote it, well, I guess I was gonna say if I wrote it on the bathroom stall in a CD on a seedy side of town, it wouldn't matter because I still wrote it. I published it. And
yeah,
I mean,
but then that really creates an issue with how do you tie it back to this person? I see what you're saying. Technically, if you were able to successfully tie it back, I mean, I hope they're not recording you in the bathroom. That would be an issue.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
Yeah, that's right.
That would be crazy work. All right, Nick, thank you so much, man.
Thanks for having me again. I'm glad we were able to catch up and kind of talk about this stuff.
Yeah. Well, if anything else pops up, I need you to keep your phone near you, keep your smartphone next to you, because I might send up the bad signal. We might need you to come back and look at more. But please
keep me posted with the. I got to follow the Candace Owens Macron case because, I want to break down that decision. When it comes out, because I mean, is Candace Owens going to get that case dismissed? I said no, and will I be proven wrong? We'll see.
Okay, so all right, well, we're gonna put, you know what? Beforehand, we'll put up a bet. We'll come up with something. We'll come up with something. If Nick is right, XYZ. If Nick is wrong, 1, 2, 3. We'll come up with something. And
as long as I don't have to shave my head or anything.
Oh no, we're not gonna do that to you, man. You man. You
no
got the whole look. We don't want
bald folks. I'm a Titans fan. We're all bald people there,
Oh, did he say
our bald coaches with the Titans now? Robert Saleh, Brian Daboll, you name it.
I got you. Well, do me a favor, Nick. Please have a great rest of the day. Thank you so much for tapping in, my friend. And we'll do this again real soon.
Thanks. Have a good one, guys.
You got it, Nick. Take care, friend. Grace and peace. All right. So that was Nick Brooks, Esquire, who came through to explain the Project Constipation cease and desist as well as a response. That was cool. Thank y'all so much for tapping in. I know this was very impromptu. Y'all did not have this schedule, and neither did I, but I saw this. He wanted to hop on, so we said, let's go ahead and make it happen. So I'll try to definitely, I saw your request. We'll try to get him back on as soon as possible. But Nick actually works really hard. I have to give him credit. So the fact that he was willing to jump on right now, I just said, we got to do it. Let's make it happen. Let's go. So I will definitely have him back, and I'll give you all more lead time. So y'all know, bring your questions, all that kind of stuff. But definitely want to see how more things shake out with this Candace Owens story. I'll definitely bring him back on. So everybody, thank you so much. It is time for me to go become carpool dad and go hop in and go pick up my baby. So you all have a great rest of the day. I'll see y'all at 6 o'clock for Body Cam Bingo. Everybody have a great rest of the day. Grace and peace. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Jay Whitt Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please do me a favor and hit me up with that 3-piece special. Like the video, subscribe, and of course, share it with somebody who would also enjoy this type of content. And make sure you leave a comment because I do pin the best comments to the top. So thank you so much for tuning in today. And until next time, everybody, grace and peace.